my story tonight is a tale of one of nature's classic rivalries. It's man versus Darkar's Toyota of Gaithersburg. It is 8:30 on an ordinary Thursday morning. I'm sitting in a small glass-enclosed office with a salesman named Lee, who tells me that the 30,000-mile Class B service for my Corolla is going to cost $232. That is the moment when the morning goes to hell. Because when I called a couple days earlier to make the appointment, the person I spoke to said that the Class B service was $135, so $97 less than he's telling me now. And they didn't look at the car and make some decision. This is just the standard cost of the service. And Lee responds with the words that I hate more than any other words in commerce. No one should have told you that. Oh, I hate that phrase so much. How you all probably have 50 stories of times you've heard someone say that to you. This just happened a couple months ago. I bought a phone from Verizon on Black Friday, and the salesman said, oh, it's a Black Friday sale. It's an older model phone, so with your renewed contract, the phone is actually free. 2 days later, phone comes in the mail and a bill for $600. So I call Verizon. I say, they said the phone was free. Oh, well, no one should have told you that. Right, that's a phrase that businesses can use to get out of any obligation that they have. No one should have told you that, and we're done. So Lee offers to go get his manager. The manager comes in, and I should say that I'm not one of those problem customers, right? I'm not entitled and mean and acting like a jerk to the staff. I just don't think it's asking too much to know how much a thing costs so that I can make an educated decision about whether to buy that thing. So now I'm facing the manager. Now Lee's manager is Dave. If I could tell you one thing about Dave to help you picture him in your minds, I would tell you that Dave doesn't need this. Dave has one of those centimeter-long beards that make you think that he just didn't shave for a week and a half until you get closer. You see he did shave his neck, so he's probably just a douchebag. And Dave says, what seems to be the problem? Which is another business phrase, isn't it, right? They never say, what is the problem? Because that pre-acknowledges the existence of a problem. No, they say, what seems to be the problem? What are you perceiving as the problem in your little customer mind? And so I explained to Dave that when I called, they said it was going to be $135, and now it's suddenly $232. And he says, do you remember who you spoke to? Yes. We became best friends. We're seeing a movie on Saturday. No, I don't remember who I spoke. Do any of us remember who you speak to when you're calling to make an appointment to have your car looked at? And sitting there, I made myself a promise, that you probably also do sometimes when you're like, okay, next time I talk to anybody for any reason, right when I call my cable company or health insurance, I'm going to write down the name of the person I speak to. But we know we're never going to do that because it's awkward. You can't ask for the name of the person you're speaking to, because if I say, and what's your name? It sounds like I'm going to follow it up either with, and let me talk to your supervisor, or, and what are you wearing? So I tell Dave, no, I don't know who I spoke to. But Dave, he seems to think this is really important. He says, do you remember whether it was a man or a woman? No, I don't remember whether it was a man or a woman. And now, thank you, Dave, I'm filled with liberal guilt. Because the fact is, I had a conversation with a human being 2 days ago, but what kind of an awful yuppie am I that I didn't even register the person's gender? I just dismissed them in my mind as the Toyota peon and then went about my middle-class life. So, no, I don't even remember whether it was a man or a woman. But now that I'm thinking about it, I do remember that whoever I spoke to said that I was lucky I called when I did because they were about to go home for the night. So whoever it was the person who was working at the very end of the day on Tuesday. And Dave says, there were two people working at the end of the day on Tuesday, a man and a woman. Sounds like the first line of a very nice little story, or maybe a porno script. And I think for a moment, like Dave he's gonna bring people in like a police lineup. He's gonna say, number one, can you step forward and read the line on the card, please? That will be $135. Was that him? So, just for a brief, strange moment, like if I'd been looking away right then, I would have missed it. This little smile flickers across Dave's face. And he says, I'm wondering if you spoke to Kevin. Now, I say nothing at this point because I want Dave to keep going. I want him to keep digging himself deeper in case he ends up saying something like, Kevin is a chimp we hired to say numbers at random. But then he basically does. Dave says, and I quote, Kevin is a little off the wall. That's a wonderful system for Toyota to set up, don't you think? Customers call trying to find out how much a part costs, and wacky old Kevin says whatever number comes to his mind. New transmission, 50 cents. Okay, bye-bye, Kevin, go night-night. So for a minute there, I think I've got my loophole. Maybe this really was supposed to be $232, but someone let Kevin off his leash, and he promised me the wrong price. And I kind of feel like, isn't there a world that we used to live in where false advertising was a thing, right? Wouldn't that used to be something you could hold businesses to? Remember the story of Pepsi and the Harrier jet? And I remember growing up, my 5th grade math teacher, Mrs. Bigelow, told us a story about when she walked into a taco restaurant. She was teaching us about decimals, and she saw a sign on the wall that said tacos, 0.49 cents. And so she slapped a penny on the counter and said, I'll take 2 tacos, keep the change. But nowadays, they just be like, oh, the sign's wrong. And tacos are $12. And you're stuck. So I'm thinking, all right, so Kevin, that's where we're going with this. And so Dave, I think he's maybe going to say that he has to give me the price because that's what Kevin promised. But instead, he says, I could see about meeting you part way. Part way between 135 and 230. We're haggling now? Are we in a spice hut in Marrakesh? And I get a little bit annoyed at this point, and I say, wait a minute. One of your salespeople promised me a certain price, but because he's off the wall, you don't have to honor that price? And as soon as I say that, this new situation opens up. And maybe some of you have been in this situation. If you have like a friend, for example, who's always complaining about his girlfriend, but the moment you say something bad about her, forget it. Well, for the purpose of this analogy, Kevin is Dave's girlfriend. Because as soon as I say off the wall, Dave gets furious. He says, Kevin is new. Like I'm the one who introduced the term off the wall into our conversation in the first place. Dave is so mad, he stands up, he can't even look at me. He's just staring at the floor like he's trying to burn a hole in it with his eyes. And he says, you know what? Pay whatever you want. And he storms out. Like, are you 3? This is how I end arguments with my wife sometimes that I'm not proud of. You know, it's like a weekend morning and we both haven't eaten yet, but we probably should have. And finally someone says, you know what? You tell me what you want me to say and I'll say it. Well, for the purpose of that analogy, Dave is my wife. Don't tell Kevin. So I'm alone there in the office. I wait. And then Lee comes back in. He doesn't say a word. He sits down, type, and then he says, that'll be $135. I wonder several things at this point. I wonder if I should tell him that I've been saying 135 all along as shorthand for 134.78. Yeah. I wonder if I should tell him, Dave told me I could pay whatever I want, and slap a penny on the counter and say, keep the change. I wonder if Kevin's going to get in trouble. I wonder if Dave is going to poop in my engine. I wonder what Dave said to Lee when he passed him in the hallway on the way back in, because I don't think he said, this intelligent consumer has bested me with logic. Throw in 2 of our finest wiper blades, my good man. I wonder if Dave said something to Lee about me being Jewish. I'm always self-conscious about that when I argue with someone about money. I wonder, how Jewish do I look today? How much chest hair is poking out of my shirt collar? But mostly, as I ride to work on the ironically named Dark Cars Toyota of Gaithersburg courtesy shuttle, I wonder about the businesses of the world that own us and the Daves who protect them. Who tells them that you don't have to honor a price that you promised to a customer? Who tells them that when a salesman makes a mistake, which happens, you should throw him under the courtesy shuttle? Who told you to mess with me on this Thursday morning, Dave? Because you know what, Dave? No one should have told you that. Thank you.